She never thought her past would come crashing back into her life, especially not like this. Emily Harper's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the hospital bed, her heart racing. She was about to give birth. Alone. The pain was almost unbearable, but there was something worse, something that left her breathless. The door opened, and the doctor stepped in. Her eyes went wide. Ben? The voice that had once been so familiar, now a stranger's. Ben Carter, her ex. The man who once held her heart, and the man she swore she would never see again. They had shared so many dreams, but one thing stood between them, the life she had chosen. A life she had to face alone. And now, here he was, standing at the foot of her bed. Ben's eyes met hers, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to stop. Emily, he said, his voice steady but laced with something she couldn't place. I didn't expect this. He wasn't the young, ambitious man she had known. He had changed. He was no longer just Ben, the guy she loved and lost. He was Dr. Benjamin Carter now. A renowned surgeon. A billionaire. And the last person she expected to see in this room. As if the shock wasn't enough, the silence between them was deafening. She was about to bring a child into the world, and the last person she wanted to deal with was him. The man who had broken her heart, the man who had walked away without a word, and now he was here, as the doctor overseeing her labor. "What are you doing here?" Emily's voice cracked as the weight of it all hit her. "You're my doctor, Emily," Ben replied, his gaze softening just a little, though it still carried the weight of their shared past. She wanted to yell at him, to tell him to leave, but she couldn't. She needed the doctor. She needed him to help her. This wasn't the time to revisit old wounds. Yet, there was a part of her, deep down, that was hoping for something more. That maybe, just maybe, this was fate's way of giving them a second chance. As the labor pains intensified, Emily couldn't ignore the way Ben's presence seemed to calm her, even though her emotions were a whirlwind. She hated that she still felt something for him, something that she thought had long since died. But here he was, his steady hands on her, the man she once trusted more than anyone else. "I'm here, Emily." "I'll make sure you're okay," Ben said, his voice low and reassuring. It wasn't just the words. It was the way he said them. She wanted to hate him, but in this moment, all she could feel was the pull of the past. And she couldn't deny that she missed him, even after everything. But did that mean she was ready to forgive him? Or was this just a moment of weakness, a brief slip back into a time she had tried so hard to forget? All Emily knew for sure was that the man she never wanted to see again was now the only person she trusted in that room. And that terrified her. "I don't know why I agreed to this," Emily thought as she gripped the side of the bed, sweat drenching her forehead. The pain was unbearable, yet it was only half of what she was feeling. Ben's presence in the room stirred up emotions she had long buried. The same emotions that had once led her to fall in love with him. The same ones that had broken her heart when he left. But here he was, standing in front of her, ready to help her bring new life into the world. The man she had sworn to never forgive. The man who, despite everything, still held power over her heart. "Just breathe, Emily," Ben's voice broke through her thoughts, calm and steady. "You're doing great." His words were gentle, but they carried an authority that she couldn't ignore. She closed her eyes and tried to focus on her breathing, but her mind kept drifting back to him. To the man who had walked away without a word, leaving her to pick up the pieces of her broken heart. "You're not the one who's doing this," she muttered under her breath, her voice tinged with bitterness. "You left me to do this alone." Ben's expression faltered for just a second, but then he took a step closer, his hand gently resting on her arm. "I'm sorry, Emily. I was wrong. But I'm here now. I'm here for you." Emily opened her eyes and looked at him, really looked at him. The man standing before her was not the same man she had once known. He was older, more mature, and his eyes held a depth that hadn't been there before. She could see the regret in his eyes, but it wasn't enough. Not after everything that had happened. "You think saying sorry is going to fix everything," she snapped, her emotions starting to spill over. "You left me when I needed you the most. You left me to raise our child alone. And now you think you can just waltz back into my life like nothing happened." The tears she had been holding back started to fall, and she quickly wiped them away, not wanting him to see her vulnerability. Ben didn't say anything at first. He just stood there, his face a mixture of guilt and sorrow. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "No, I don't expect it to fix everything. But I want to try. I want to make things right." Emily laughed bitterly, the sound harsh and hollow. "You can't make things right, Ben. Not after everything that's happened." She turned her head away, staring out the window, trying to block him out. But it was no use. His presence, his scent, his touch, everything about him still affected her. "I just don't know if I can trust you again," she said softly, the words leaving her lips before she even realized they had. Ben took a deep breath, and she felt him move closer. "I understand that, Emily. I know I hurt you. And I can't change the past. But I want to be there for you. For the baby. For everything." His words were sincere, and for a moment, she almost believed him. But then she remembered why she had sworn to never let him back in. He had hurt her, and she couldn't forget that. "Not yet. Just stay out of my way," she whispered, her voice shaky. "I don't need you. I just need the doctor. Please." Ben hesitated for a moment, but then he nodded. "I'll be right here if you need me, Emily. I won't leave you again." His words, though soft, held a promise. A promise that neither of them knew if he could keep. But for now, that was enough. Emily closed her eyes, trying to focus on the pain, on the task at hand. She didn't want to think about Ben, about the past. But as the contractions grew stronger, she couldn't help but feel the pull of the memories, the pull of the man who once meant everything to her. Emily's breath came in shallow gasps, her body trembling with each contraction. She had been through pain before, but this was different. This time, it was not just her heart that was breaking, it was her body too. She squeezed the side of the bed tighter, her knuckles white. The hospital room seemed to shrink with every wave of discomfort, every tightening of her muscles. Ben was still there, standing at the foot of the bed, his eyes never leaving her. She could feel his presence like a weight pressing down on her, and she couldn't decide if it was comforting or suffocating. The man who had once been her whole world, the man who had shattered her trust, was now the only one who could help her. "You're doing great, Emily," Ben said again, his voice steady and calm, but she could hear the underlying tension in it. He wasn't just a doctor right now. He was a man who had loved her once, and still, there was something there, something between them that neither of them could ignore. She gritted her teeth, fighting against the rising tide of emotions that threatened to overwhelm her. "I don't need you here," she snapped, her voice shaky, trying to push him away. She didn't want him to see her like this, weak and vulnerable. She didn't want him to see the pain that wasn't just physical. She didn't want to need him. But the truth was, she did. She needed him more than she cared to admit. "I know you don't," Ben replied quietly, his gaze softening. "But I'm here. I won't leave you." Emily turned her head away, not wanting him to see the tear that escaped her eye. She blinked it away quickly, but the vulnerability was there, exposed and raw. "Just get it over with," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please. Just help me." Ben didn't say anything for a moment. He just moved closer, his hands gentle as he adjusted the fore and checked her vitals. Emily's heart beat faster, but it wasn't just from the pain. It was from the way he moved, from the way he knew exactly what to do without even needing to ask. It was as if time had never passed between them, as if he had never left her side. But she couldn't let herself forget. She couldn't let herself fall back into the comfort of what they had once shared. He wasn't the man she had loved anymore. Not really. "I'm sorry," Ben said again, his voice thick with regret. "I can't change the past, but I'll be here for you now. Whatever you need, Emily, I'll be here." His words stung more than they should have. They should have been a comfort, but instead, they reminded her of everything she had lost. Everything that could never be fixed. She squeezed her eyes shut, refusing to let him see the tears that were threatening to fall. This wasn't about them anymore. This was about her baby. Her future. "I can't trust you, Ben," she said, her voice trembling as another wave of pain washed over her. Not after everything. She couldn't stop the words from slipping out. She wanted to be strong, to keep the wall she had built around her heart intact, but Ben had always known how to break it down. He had broken it once before. She wouldn't let him do it again. "I don't expect you to," Ben replied, his tone steady but filled with understanding. "But I'll earn your trust again. One day at a time." The words hung in the air between them, a promise that neither of them knew if he could keep. But for now, it was enough. Emily closed her eyes again, her body trembling with exhaustion and pain. She didn't want to think about Ben, about the past. She didn't want to think about anything except getting through this, except bringing her child into the world. She could do this on her own. She had to. But as another contraction hit, she couldn't help but feel the weight of Ben's words, the weight of his presence in the room. The man who had left her was now the man who was helping her bring new life into the world. And that thought alone was enough to make her head spin. The contractions were coming faster now, more intense, more frequent. Emily's breath quickened, and she could feel the sweat trickling down her back. She tried to focus, to concentrate on the task at hand, but all she could think about was Ben. Ben and the weight of his presence in the room. He had always been the one who made her feel safe, even when he wasn't around. But now, that feeling was mixed with anger, confusion, and something else, something that made her heart race in a way she didn't understand. "I can't do this," Emily gasped, her hand clutching the sheets. "I can't." Ben was there instantly, his hand on her shoulder, his touch gentle but firm. "Yes, you can, Emily. You're stronger than you think." His voice was calm, soothing, but it didn't feel like enough. Nothing felt like enough right now. Not with the storm of emotions raging inside her. She had spent so long building walls around her heart, walls that Ben had torn down once before. And now, here he was, standing in front of her again, offering his help, offering his words of comfort. But it didn't change anything. It didn't change the fact that he had left her, that he had broken her trust in a way she wasn't sure she could ever repair. "Why now, Ben?" Emily's voice cracked with the question. "Why are you here? After everything that happened, why now?" Ben hesitated, his expression softening, his eyes filled with something she couldn't quite read. "I'm here because I never stopped caring about you, Emily. I made a mistake. I can't undo it, but I can be here for you now. I can help you through this." Emily shook her head, her vision blurry with tears. "You don't get it, do you? You don't get to just walk back into my life and fix everything with a few words. You left me when I needed you the most. You left me to face everything alone. And now, you think you can just waltz back in and make everything better." Ben's jaw clenched, and Emily could see the guilt in his eyes, the weight of his regret. "I know I can't fix everything. I know I can't take back the past. But I'm here now, Emily. And I'll do whatever it takes to show you I can be there for you." She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that he was being sincere, that this wasn't just a moment of weakness on his part, that he really cared about her and their child. But the pain of the past was too fresh, too raw. She couldn't just let it go. She couldn't just forgive him. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The words felt like a weight on her chest. She had spent so long guarding her heart, so long telling herself that she didn't need him. But now, with him standing in front of her, those walls felt like they were crumbling. "I understand," Ben said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "And I'm not asking you to trust me right away. I just want to be here for you, for the baby. I'm not asking for anything more than that." Emily closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. The pain was almost too much to bear, and she was beginning to feel overwhelmed. She didn't know how much longer she could keep up this fight, keep up this facade of strength. But she knew one thing for sure: she couldn't do it alone. Not anymore. As another wave of contractions hit, Emily gripped Ben's hand, holding onto him for support. He didn't pull away. He didn't hesitate. He was there, holding her hand, his presence grounding her in the midst of the storm. For the first time in a long time, Emily allowed herself to lean into him, to let him be the support she had never allowed herself to have. And in that moment, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she could let go of the past. Maybe she could trust him again. But it was going to take time. It was going to take more than just words. And Emily wasn't sure if she was ready for that. But for now, she would take what he was offering. For now, she would allow him to be there, to be the man who was helping her bring her child into the world. And that, she thought, was a step in the right direction. Emily's body trembled with the effort of pushing. The pain was all-encompassing, but there was something even stronger pulling her forward, the anticipation of meeting her child. She had thought she would face this moment alone, but now, in this hospital room, there was Ben. Ben, the man who had hurt her, the man who had walked away. But also, the man who was holding her hand, helping her through this. "You're almost there, Emily. Just one more push." Ben's voice broke through the haze of pain, steady and reassuring. Emily gripped his hand tighter, her nails digging into his skin, but he didn't pull away. He didn't flinch. He was there, right beside her, the same way he had once been when they were in love. The thought of that love, of the man she had trusted with her heart, threatened to overwhelm her. But she couldn't let it now. She couldn't let the past dictate the present. Not when her child was about to be born. "I can't," she gasped, the exhaustion and pain threatening to swallow her whole. "Yes, you can," Ben said firmly. His voice, so steady, so confident, grounded her in the chaos of the moment. "You're doing great. You're stronger than you think." The words were almost identical to what he had said to her earlier, but this time, they didn't feel as empty. This time, they felt like the truth. Emily closed her eyes, pushing past the pain, pushing past the memories, and focused on the future. The future that was right in front of her. She could do this. She had to do this. Another wave of pain hit, and she pushed with everything she had. The world around her seemed to disappear, leaving only the moment, her, Ben, and the life she was about to bring into the world. And then, there was the sound of a cry. A cry that shattered the tension in the room, that cut through the heavy silence like a beacon of light. "It's a girl," the nurse said, her voice filled with warmth. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She opened her eyes, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she smiled. Ben leaned down beside her, his eyes soft as he gazed at their newborn daughter. "She's perfect," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Emily looked at Ben, and for a moment, the anger, the hurt, the resentment, all of it seemed to fade into the background. She was holding her daughter, and nothing else mattered. Nothing else could compare to the overwhelming sense of love and protection she felt for the tiny life in her arms. "She's ours, Emily," Ben said softly. "I promise, I won't leave you again." Emily's eyes flickered with uncertainty, the past still lingering in her heart, but she couldn't deny the sincerity in his voice. She didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, she had everything she needed. The past didn't matter. It was just her, Ben, and their daughter. She could let the rest go, at least for now. The doctor had said earlier that it was going to take time for her to heal, for both of them to heal. And Emily knew that was true. But she also knew that in this moment, for the first time in a long time, she had a chance. A chance at a new beginning. A chance to build something stronger, something that couldn't be torn apart by the mistakes of the past. She looked at Ben, really looked at him, and saw the man he was now, the man who was here, right beside her, holding their daughter. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could have a future. But for now, there was only the present. the present, and the little girl in her arms who had just brought them together in a way nothing else ever could. The days following the birth of their daughter were a blur for Emily. Between the exhaustion of new motherhood and the constant reminders of the past, it felt like she was living in two worlds at once. There were moments of peace, holding her daughter, seeing Ben by her side, but then there were the flashes of doubt. The past was never far behind, and every time she looked at Ben, she remembered what he had done. She remembered the hurt, the anger, and the betrayal. And yet, here he was, trying to make amends, trying to be a part of their lives. The question was, could she forgive him? Could she ever truly trust him again? She found herself watching him as he held their baby, his expression soft and full of love. He looked so different from the man she had once known. This man wasn't the one who had walked away without a word. This man wasn't the one who had left her to face the world on her own. This man was the one who was here now, showing up when it mattered most. "She's beautiful," Ben said, his voice filled with awe as he looked down at their daughter. Emily smiled faintly, her heart swelling with love. For the tiny life they had created together. She couldn't deny the way Ben looked at their daughter, the way he cared for her, the way he was there for both of them. It was hard to reconcile the man he was now with the man he had been. "She is," Emily replied softly, her voice thick with emotion. The silence between them hung in the air, neither of them knowing what to say. There was so much unsaid, so much that needed to be addressed, but Emily couldn't bring herself to talk about it. Not yet. She wasn't ready. Ben looked at her then, his eyes searching hers. "Emily, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I've hurt you in ways I can never take back, but I want to prove to you that I'm here. That I'm not going anywhere this time." His words were gentle, sincere, but they didn't wash away the years of pain. They didn't erase the hurt she had carried with her. She felt a lump form in her throat, and she turned her head away, not wanting him to see the tears that threatened to fall. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry over him anymore, that she wouldn't let him back into her heart. But holding their daughter, seeing him here, seeing the way he looked at her, it made it hard to keep that promise. "I don't know if I can believe you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Ben reached out, his hand gently resting on hers. "I understand. I know it's going to take time. I'm not asking for everything at once, Emily. I just want to be here for you. For her. For the future." Emily's heart wavered, the walls she had built around herself starting to crack. But she wasn't ready to let them fall completely. Not yet. The future felt uncertain, and she wasn't sure if she could trust Ben again, but she also knew that their daughter deserved the best chance at a happy life. She deserved both of her parents, if that was possible. "I'm trying," Emily said quietly, her voice trembling. "I'm trying to figure out what this means for us. For me, for her." Ben nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "I'm here for the long haul, Emily. Whatever you need, I'll be there. I'm not going anywhere." Emily squeezed his hand, her chest tight with emotion. She wasn't sure if she could ever fully forgive him. She wasn't sure if she could ever truly forget what he had done. But in that moment, she realized something. Maybe forgiveness wasn't something she had to give right away. Maybe it wasn't about forgetting the past, but about moving forward, one step at a time. For their daughter. For themselves. As she looked at Ben, really looked at him, Emily saw the man he had become, not the man he used to be. And for the first time, she thought that maybe, just maybe, they could build a future together. But it would take time. It would take patience. And it would take a lot of work. But for the first time in a long time, Emily was willing to try. The days turned into weeks, and Emily found herself slowly adjusting to the new rhythm of life with her daughter. It wasn't easy, but with each passing day, she began to feel a sense of peace that had been missing for so long. The late-night feedings, the early mornings, the exhaustion, it was all worth it when she saw her daughter's tiny smile or heard her soft cooing. But there was still something that weighed heavily on her heart. Ben. She had started to let him in, little by little. They had shared moments, quiet ones, where he held their daughter while Emily made dinner, or when he sat beside her, both of them lost in thought, but still present. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Ben was trying. Emily could see that. He was there when she needed him. He was helping in ways she never thought he would, never thought he could. And yet, despite everything, the doubt still lingered. Could she really trust him again? Could she ever forgive him for walking away when she needed him the most? Some nights, when the house was quiet and the baby was asleep, Emily would find herself staring at Ben, wondering if this was all just a temporary fix. If one day, he would slip away again, just like before. It wasn't that she didn't want to believe him. She did. She wanted to believe that they could have a second chance, that they could build a future together. But fear was a powerful thing, and it gripped her tightly. "You're doing great, Emily," Ben said one evening as she sat on the couch, their daughter asleep in her arms. His voice was warm, soothing, but there was something in his eyes that told her he knew exactly what she was thinking. "I'm trying," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. She turned her head, meeting his gaze. "I know you are," he said gently, his hand resting on hers. "And I'll keep trying. I know it's not easy, but I'm not going anywhere." Emily felt the familiar tug of emotions. She didn't want to admit it, but hearing him say those words, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, made her heart ache. She wanted to believe him, more than anything. But how could she? How could she just erase the past and trust him again? "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I'm scared of letting you in again, of trusting you. What if you leave again? What if I end up alone, like I was before?" Ben's grip tightened around her hand, his thumb brushing against her skin. "I won't leave you, Emily. I won't. I know I hurt you, and I can never take that back, but I'm here now. And I'll be here tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day after that." Emily swallowed hard, the lump in her throat making it hard to breathe. She wanted to believe him. She really did. But the past felt too close, the pain still too raw. She was afraid. Afraid of getting hurt again. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered, her voice barely a sound. "I don't know if I can forgive you." Ben's expression softened, and he leaned in, his forehead resting gently against hers. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness right now," he said softly. "I'm asking for your trust. That's all. Take it one step at a time, Emily. We don't have to have it all figured out today. But I want to be here. I want to make things right." For a moment, Emily closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his words wash over her. She wanted to feel the relief that he could offer, wanted to believe that things could be different this time. But the fear still lingered. She had been through so much already, and the thought of trusting him again was terrifying. Yet, as she looked at him, as she felt his presence beside her, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she could try. One step at a time. With time, with patience, they could rebuild what they had lost. And maybe, just maybe, they could build something even stronger. But for now, she allowed herself to lean into him, to let his words sink in. She didn't have to have all the answers. Not yet. But she could take that first step. And maybe, that was enough. The weeks that followed felt like a delicate balancing act for Emily. Each day brought new challenges, and she wasn't sure if she was doing it right. She had been navigating the waters of motherhood, with all its ups and downs, and now she had to figure out how to navigate her relationship with Ben. He was trying, and she could see it, but the fear still lingered in her chest. The fear of being hurt again. The fear of giving too much and being left with nothing. Ben had been true to his word, though. He had stayed. He had been there for their daughter and for her, even when things were difficult. But that didn't make it any easier. Emily still couldn't shake the doubt that crept into her mind at night, when the house was quiet, and she was alone with her thoughts. What if this wasn't real? What if he was just pretending to be the man she needed him to be? She wanted to believe in him, but the scars from the past were hard to ignore. I'm here, Ben's voice interrupted her thoughts one evening as he walked into the living room. He looked tired, the lines on his face deeper than they had been when they first met. But his eyes still held the same sincerity. I know you're here, Emily replied softly, trying to hide the uncertainty in her voice. I can see that. I just don't know if I can. She stopped herself, the words feeling too heavy to say out loud. Ben sat down beside her, his hand gently brushing against hers. You don't have to have all the answers right now, Emily. We don't have to figure everything out at once. I'm not asking you to trust me overnight. But I am asking for a chance. A real chance to prove to you that I'm here. For good. Emily turned her gaze to him, her heart heavy with the weight of his words. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that they could move past the hurt and build something new. But the fear was still there, whispering in her ear, telling her not to get her hopes up. I don't know if I can forgive you, she admitted quietly, the words feeling like they were tearing at her chest. I don't know if I can ever let go of everything that happened. Ben's expression softened, and he squeezed her hand gently. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I will work every day to earn your trust. I'll do whatever it takes, Emily. I promise. Emily looked down at their daughter, who was peacefully asleep in her crib, her tiny hands curled into little fists. The love Emily felt for her daughter was pure and overwhelming. She wanted the best for her, wanted her to have both parents, to have the family that Emily had always dreamed of. But it was hard to imagine that family with Ben in it. She still couldn't erase the pain he had caused her, couldn't forget how it felt to be abandoned when she needed him the most. I'm scared, Emily whispered, the vulnerability in her voice raw. I'm scared of getting hurt again. I'm scared of trusting you and then losing everything again. Ben's eyes softened with understanding. I get it, Emily. I do. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking for a chance to build something better, something stronger. Together. Emily stared at him for a long moment, feeling the weight of his words. She could see how much he wanted this, how much he wanted to prove to her that he was there for the long haul. But was it enough? Could she really let him in again? Could she open herself up to the possibility of them having a future? She wasn't sure. But in that moment, she realized something. She didn't have to have all the answers. She didn't have to make a decision right now. What mattered was that she was willing to try. She was willing to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. For her daughter. For herself. For the future. With a deep breath, Emily finally spoke. Okay. We'll take it. One step at a time. Ben's face lit up with a smile, his relief palpable. He leaned in and kissed her forehead softly. Thank you, Emily. That's all I ask. In that moment, Emily felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was a start. It was a chance to rebuild, to try again, and maybe, just maybe, they could create the family they had both longed for. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't happen overnight. But for the first time in a long time, Emily allowed herself to believe that it could be possible. The months passed by in a blur of late-night feedings, diaper changes, and the quiet joy of watching their daughter grow. Emily had settled into her new life, a life that, while far from perfect, was slowly becoming something she could be proud of. Ben had been there every step of the way. He was present, attentive, and most importantly, he had kept his promise not to leave. Each day, she saw more of the man she had fallen in love with and less of the man who had broken her heart. It wasn't easy. Trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. But with time, Emily was learning to let go of the fear that had held her back for so long. One evening, as they sat on the couch with their daughter nestled between them, Emily realized how far they had come. It wasn't just about the small things Ben did, the way he helped around the house, or how he always made time for their daughter. It was about the way he made her feel. Safe. Valued. Loved. I can't believe how much she's grown, Emily said softly, gazing at their daughter as she giggled, reaching for a toy. Ben smiled, his eyes softening as he watched them both. She's perfect. Just like her mom. Emily's heart fluttered at his words. It was moments like these that made her believe in the possibility of a future together. She didn't need perfection. She didn't need everything to be fixed right away. She just needed the promise of a future, one where they could face whatever came their way, together. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Emily asked, her voice quiet, but filled with emotion. Ben turned to her, his hand gently squeezing hers. "We have. And I know it hasn't been easy. But we're doing this together." Emily took a deep breath, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful. She had spent so long living in fear, in doubt, but now she was learning to take each day as it came, one step at a time. With Ben by her side, she knew they could face whatever challenges came their way. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe in second chances. The road ahead wouldn't be without its bumps, but Emily was ready to walk it, knowing that no matter what happened, she was not alone. "Thank you," she whispered, the words feeling like they were long overdue. Ben looked at her, his eyes full of understanding. "For what?" "For being here. For staying. For giving us a chance." Ben smiled softly, his thumb brushing across her hand. "I promised I wouldn't leave. I meant that." Emily nodded, her heart swelling with a mixture of gratitude and love. In that moment, she knew that they were building something new, something better. She couldn't change the past, and she wasn't sure if she would ever fully heal from it. But she was learning to live in the present, to embrace the love that was in front of her, and to trust that, together, they could create a future that was full of possibility. "We're in this together," Emily said, her voice strong and confident. Ben nodded, his eyes filled with resolve. "Always." As they sat there, their daughter asleep in Ben's arms, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, she was ready to face it, ready to walk forward with Ben by her side, knowing that, together, they could build a future filled with love, trust, and the strength to overcome anything that came their way.